record because very often I forget to do this. Right. So you are right now, oh my God, you're not freshman anymore, you're second year
Yeah,
student.
yeah, I'm a sophomore now. Yeah.
Sophomore, right. So and the academic year recently started. How do you
Mhm.
feel your second year is different from your first year experience at UPenn?
So I think when you're a freshman, you're just lost. You don't know anything. You have to figure out everything like right on spot.
Mhm.
And a lot of things are messy and chaotic just because you don't know how to do them or you didn't know they existed in first place. And everybody makes it look like it's common knowledge, like it's general knowledge that everybody has to know. Especially as an international student, you feel like you're not like you're less than everyone, not in terms of like skills or uh, intellectual ability, but just in terms of preparation for like an academic year or student life. And then being a sophomore, it's much more peaceful. It's easier. Like just starting a semester was also easier because I already know how to manage the courses. I know how to talk to the professors. I know how to, manage around my schedule.
Mhm.
So I would say that is the biggest difference. And the second one is that as a freshman, you always get FOMO. So FOMO, it means like fear of missing out. So
Mhm.
you're always scared that you're missing out on something, and whatever people ask of you, you're like, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I'm going to do this. So
Mhm.
it's like you try to do as many things as possible in a short period of time, and you just dive right into everything. But then as a sophomore, you're more conscious about your choices, and you know what you actually want, and or what you wouldn't like spend your time on or like waste your time on. So instead of just agreeing to everything, you start agreeing to stuff that actually would be fun and productive for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, do you think a moment? Okay. Yeah, right. So, do you think that thinking a bit deeper and a bit more about your intended direction at university and probably engaging more with different resources, informational resources on what life at that university is about would help you, kind of know better and feel more confident in choosing specific opportunities in your first year?
Yeah, definitely. So I always advise people to research whatever university you're interested in. You cannot just hear about it and apply there. I feel like you always have to carry out a thorough research. And even if when you already got in, let's say, and you settled on that university, it's very useful to really dig into it and find out about very various like multiple opportunities, and every university is like full of them. So for example, in UPenn there are those programs, like dual degree programs or special programs for let's say biochemistry people or humanities people, and if you don't know about them you cannot apply to them, right?
Hmm.
And you have to be a freshman to enroll in those. So, and except for those, there are like so many clubs, so many organizations on campus, and all of their applications are mostly right in the beginning. So, if you don't know that much, or if you miss out on them, you have to wait for a whole year or for a whole semester to
Mhm.
get to apply to those again. And just, I mean, you can never be 100% prepared. There are always going to be things that you discover along with your ongoing experience,
Absolutely.
but it's good to know things ahead of the time. Yeah.
Mhm. So, what would be the best strategy if one wants to know more about, for example, the pre-professional club opportunities that arise in the first year? Is this the kind of information that, for example, an incoming international student or just an interested prospective applicant can easily get to know? Or do you have to dig a bit deeper and know some specific resources?
So of course you can just find the club's website, right? So it's not hard to find out what kind of clubs there are, um, like, and even find their Instagrams. All those organizations usually have Instagram or some other social media. But what's harder is to find out how specifically that process works in that given university, and like what clubs are considered to be, let's say, hard to get into, which ones are famous, how does the application process work. Usually for those kind of things, like Reddit comes in handy,
Mhm.
or uh, in America, there are specific apps where university students anonymously post about different
Mhm.
stuff. It's called like Fizz or Side Chat, but you only get access to it with a university email. So you gotta have that login privilege, let's say. Um, and in general, you can just start asking questions wherever you can. You can go on LinkedIn and see if like people will answer your questions. But again, you're gonna get like maybe 50% of the information, because the actual vibe and spirit and uh, I don't know, the atmosphere of that whole thing, like you're going to really truly understand it once you're on campus.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
in other words, you can never be 100% prepared, no matter how much
yeah,
research you've done, how much conversations you've started, how many questions you addressed. You just
yeah.
have to experience that on hand right
Yeah,
there.
that's right. You can never be like college ready, like in a perfect sense, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that this perfect level of preparation would take away this excitement about the new horizons, right? Like, oh my God, these new people. Oh, there is something that I don't know about. I have to go and
Yeah.
explore it. How will I deal with it? How will I feel it? I don't know.
No, there will always be something you don't know,
Mhm,
even as a senior, and so I
mhm.
don't think it's something to worry about. Yeah.
Great. So also, what do you feel is special about being a student at UPenn?
Hmm. So apart from the whole like top uni Ivy part, you don't really feel it here, because everybody is
Mm.
the same. All of us are in the same community. We don't really uh, talk about it. You know what I'm trying to say? But
Hmm.
it definitely feels special that there are so many opportunities on campus, and I'm pretty sure that it's more than like most universities. And there are so many things that you don't even know about, like different webinars happening, like career services, so many advisors that are ready to help you, like tutoring centers, um, and I don't know, like programs, internship opportunities, fellowships. And it's just so much that sometimes you feel like you don't even have time to like get to know about those things. Yeah, like uh, put aside apply, right? But
Mhm.
it definitely feels special that the university is able to even do all of those things. And there are even some events where they invite like extremely famous people. Like last year, there were like some Hollywood actors. There were Margaret Atwood was
Wow.
had like a speaking event, and more like political figures, like literary figures, journalists, and everything. Um, and then another thing is that it's very competitive here.
Mhm.
Everyone is so pre-professional, so engulfed into their studies. Everyone seems to be like constantly working and working. And so every time you have a small talk with someone, it will be like, oh, what did you do over the summer? I had this like this internship in Malaysia, or I had a fellowship in Paris and stuff like that. And so you feel like everyone is like better than you sometimes, or like just doing more than you, like putting more effort than you. And it definitely feels like I have something to live up to. Yeah.
And I feel like on a psychological level, this is the exact circumstances that kind of strengthen and facilitate and take to the next level that inner drive towards excellence, towards putting in more effort. But at the same time, it comes with this element of like burning out or getting too tired of, you know, seeking out or doing something relentlessly. Does
Yeah,
it?
that's right.
Yeah.
A lot of people here are burned out. Like I'm pretty sure almost everyone.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Um, and especially, it's people call it seasonal depression, but when winter comes around, it becomes so like gloomy and dark. It feels like there's no hope, that kind of
And
stuff.
then the midterms come in and it becomes
Yeah,
even darker. And then
yeah.
Christmas comes.
It's
And it's
like
like the
the
resolution.
midterms are around, and it feels like you're a prisoner in your little study room somewhere in basement of a library, and it's 3 a.m. and everyone is around you eating junk food and just trying to survive, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I in this place right now?
Mhm,
Why am I torturing myself like that? Do I need all of it? But yeah,
mhm,
it's not a constant feeling. It's not like it's there forever, or maybe it is for some people. I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely pressure.
mhm.
Mhm.
So you, for many, it feels like getting in is the hardest part, but once you're in, you realize that it was the easiest part, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
and so the experience of getting in, crafting that application, right? This is like a test that can show whether you're actually prepared to withstand that psychological and professional and academic rigor of a top university, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and this is exactly what we're going to talk more specifically, deeply, broadly today about Gulrukh's experience of getting in. This is the Freshman Getting In series where we explore successful admissions cases. Right. So, and I think we're going to start with the moment of, I love starting with the moment of deciding to go for something big. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to know whether the Ivy element was something that was always present in your environment and you were like, oh yeah, it's natural and normal to apply there. Or it was like, wow, actually, wow, this is something that I can do that nobody has ever done around me. And I'm like a pioneer. So what kind of experience was that?
So, um, well, in general, you have to first decide that you're going to study abroad, right? For me, it happened sometime around eighth grade. So in
Hmm.
seventh grade, I transferred from like a normal public school to a presidential school. And then I found out suddenly that there are like admissions. There's this concept of studying abroad. I mean, I guess you always know that there you can study abroad and some people do, but it just took this form. It took a shape of like, oh, so there are like ways people know how to do it. There are like certain platforms through which I can apply. So kind of like more understanding about it. But I just knew that I want to study abroad. I didn't know like where, I didn't know what kind of universities were like the best ones and stuff. So I just started preparing without even really knowing. So when it came time to compose my college list, I literally just was like, okay, so let's say I want to major in like poli-sci, and I just Googled like rankings for poli-sci majors,
Mm,
and some universities popped up, and I was like, okay, like maybe I'll choose this one and that one and that one. Like I Googled them a little bit, and that's how my college list came around. I mean, it changed after that a little bit, but it's like I wasn't the most knowledgeable person when it came to admissions, but I knew stuff about like extracurriculars and essays. I knew what needed to be done. I just didn't know how to research about a specific college, right? So I
mhm,
would say me getting into UPenn is a little more uh, less determined than some people would think. Like I didn't have, well, I of course I was like, it would be so nice to be, let's say, a Harvard student or like an Ivy
Mhm.
student. But I really chose four Ivies just like randomly. I was like, I like Harvard and Yale. And then I heard about Columbia, and like one of my teachers was like, UPenn is a great place to be. So that's how everything turned out. And when I did get in, it felt like, what? I didn't know that this would happen. I didn't know like that I would actually get in. So it definitely felt like a luck or a fortune. Like I'm
Mhm.
not diminishing my effort and work uh, for the application, but it's just the feeling. I never thought, I never was determined like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
You never had that kind of intuitive hunch about, oh, I think that university will accept me. You
Yeah,
didn't. So that came as a complete surprise. But some people do, interestingly. Right. So I have several questions here. In terms of starting the application for US universities, right? Were you more of an early starter, like precrastinator, or a procrastinator who started building
definitely.
applications around November, October, or maybe even December? Some people do that.
Yeah, I mean, there is never too early when for starting to prepare to college admissions, because the components of your application are things that you have to be doing for years. Like for
Yeah.
example, extracurriculars, right?
Mhm.
Um, like you have to be doing them for like starting eighth grade or starting like high school. So that on its own is already preparation. The way you do your extracurriculars, how invested you are into them, like which extracurriculars you prefer to others, like what kind of positions you will be able to maintain throughout the course of like 4 years in high school. So that alone is preparation, in my opinion. And to write essays, like you don't just like start writing essays on spot, right? You have to know how to write. You have to be constantly practicing creative writing. You have to have some kind of experience to prepare you for that admissions, right? And it doesn't just start like the summer before applying. Like it starts much earlier than that. So, and
Mm.
especially if you're not sure about your writing skills, the only way to improve them is just by writing more and more and more and more. Not just college essays. It can be like essays of any sort, right?
Mhm.
So that kind of preparation for me, it started like a long time ago, like years before my final grade, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes specifically to like um, putting those milestones, deciding on your colleges, starting your Common App, like descriptions for ECs, building your brand, let's say. Um, I would say the summer, like before your senior year, is the perfect time to start on all of that. And then you like slowly develop all parts of your application. You have time to work on all the aspects of it. And so by the time ED comes around, you should be prepared, or even RD, let's say, right?
Mm.
Um, yeah, but of course, SAT, IELTS, all that stuff, it has to be done like before your senior year, like sometime in 10th grade.
Yeah, so that you kind of free up the space and attention and space for thinking for more important parts of your application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right. And I also I feel like um, about the point that you made that preparation starts years before the actual application cycle, right? I feel like engaging in writing is definitely a great thing, but not just in writing, but in more of a reflection type of writing where you try to think of the kind of activities that you're doing, why you're doing them, what is the meaning behind them, what is the goal that you have in pursuing those activities, and kind of that through time will give you a better understanding of who you are, why you do what you do, and you will have all the necessary material to produce the essays faster and probably more complex kind of essays for your applications.
I mean, it helps you figure out what you can write about. It's kind of like brainstorming for possible topics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I had a big trouble in understanding, okay, why I do these things. And so it came super, it was so much anxiety, like, okay, I have to write. I don't know how to write, but I don't know who I am. What am I supposed to do? Oh my God. Oh my God. We're gonna die. We're gonna die.
Yeah, I understand the anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I had started way earlier, especially the reflection kind of thing. But not only knowing who you are is important and making sense of your experiences, right? But also knowing how you see yourself.
Mhm,
Um, taking the most of different opportunities and resources at a particular university. And this is
mhm.
where the college list comes in. You
Yeah.
mentioned that the way you crafted it was you researched top universities for poli sci or top universities for some major. Then it also was finessed through the process of interaction with teachers or some other people, right? But was there anything else that you did, some extra research, some extra steps that you took to compile your
Yeah,
college
so
list?
unfortunately, I wasn't that good. Like looking back, maybe I would have had like a much better college list and I would have like researched more. For
Mhm,
example, all of my research about UPenn started after well, like actual thorough research started
mhm.
after I got into it, right?
Mm,
But I would just honestly put more time in like knowing what works best in that uni. Like for example, the uh, one particular uni could be great for finance and business, but it could really suck in their pre-med programs or biochem programs, right?
mhm,
So just knowing those differences are already is already useful because it's deciding your future. But also just finding out about the like atmosphere of the place you're going to, like what will it feel like to be a student there? Will you like it or not? Are you more of a small liberal arts college person or a big swarming with people uni type of person? Or is there something very special in that one university, like a program like no other that doesn't exist in other places, which like charms you specifically, right? Those kind of things.
mhm. So overall, it comes down to knowing what you specifically want from your university education,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. And
Whether
then
it
it's
is,
also easier to answer the supplemental questions. Like think about it
yeah.
when they ask you why this university or why this major, you'll
Mhm.
actually have an answer. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so when you read, okay, you mentioned an element about like learning about the specifics of different programs, whether how good they are, right? Or maybe there are some programs, it's some really good university that are not so good. So how does one understand and evaluate the quality of those programs? Because it
Mm.
feels like for a high school student who just starts learning about that, it might be a bit tricky because if you apply to top school in the US, isn't it true that all programs will be great?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, one way to find out is just literally through research, like how mentioned is the program, like what do they do, like go on LinkedIn, look what exactly they're doing, what kind of courses are involved in that program, let's say, right?
Mhm,
How well known it is in first place. There are always statistics about those programs too. Like let's say 80% of our graduates end up in this field or like something like
mhm.
that.
Yep.
But even better is to ask real people behind it. And a lot of people, they just like try to reach out two people, but not everyone answers, not everyone has the time or the desire to. So just try until you make it. Like I always say, like, fake it till you make it. Like even if you feel like you don't know something or you don't have the right to ask this person? Like, really, who cares? Like, just go for it. Just like
Yeah.
try to do whatever you can to gather that information. Like, I
Mhm.
personally don't answer or don't respond to a lot of people. I just don't have the energy to. But some other people might, not everyone is me, for example. Or just also even in the application process, a lot of people are like, I don't have that much to show or to talk about, or I'm worse than everybody else. Like, all these other people, they have this wonderful things going on. But it's really about how you put it. It's about how you present yourself, how you talk about it, how you write about it. It's all about being skillful in descriptions and writing style, just about how you sell yourself, let's say rudely.
I'd say not about how you sell yourself, but how you, not even how you evaluate, but wait, how much you value your experiences. And that comes, it feels like, not from evaluating your experience in contrast to others, but from diving into like why it really matters to you, right? This is where this, full descriptions of activities and incredibly authentic descriptions of activities come from, I feel like. But this is not something like this is not the idea that is popular, right? Many people talk about selling yourself in a way, like personal
Yeah.
brand, using very loud words, but there are other ways to do that, right? And continuing the topic of activities, um, so how long did it take for you to craft I wouldn't say perfect, but your activities list, right? And how did you approach it? How many times did you revise it? How did you choose the activities? What was the leading idea in that process?
Okay, so um, I chose the activities mostly based on my major, like the main ones, like the first
Hmm.
four or something. I was like, so not
Oh,
even just one
excuse
major.
me. Wait a
Yeah.
second. You were applying what major were you applying
I
for?
wanted to be in law school, right? But there is
Mm,
no law degree. Like, you have to complete your bachelor's before going
yeah.
to law school in US. So I was just like going for some humanities. So in some unis it was like political science. In some unis it was like philosophy major. So it really depended. But
Mm,
it's just humanities after all. So I tried to relate like a good uh, chunk of my activities to
mhm,
some kind of like a humanities field. So I went for like the I don't know, like the public speaking ones I had, or like journalism activities, like I was the editor of my school magazine, for example, or I went for like a what was it? What else was there? Oh, like some environmental activities, like outreach kind of stuff, some MUN organization. So all those were definitely a huge part of my list. And then I added like the diversity that everyone talks about. Like, what else do I do except for my academic interests? So there was like the music, swimming, um, and by music, I mean specifically like music club leads, so like making concerts. It wasn't just like playing an instrument, for example. Oh yeah, there was also the internship. I think the first one I added was my internship. It was like on a law, uh, like under the Ministry of Justice of Uzbekistan. So that was like my huge one, right? Um, And then I took all these extracurriculars and I assorted them based on their importance to me. Like, so how
mm,
good the extracurricular is, how invested I was into it, how much time I spent doing it. And so based on that, I
mm.
filtered them, like sorted them out. Um, so that's how the list came about. Yeah.
Mhm.
that's
Great. So overall, in crafting your activities lead, the leading idea, and so to say, the leading metric according to which you were prioritizing it was how invested, engaged, and meaningful that activity was for you, right? So like how much it can communicate about you overall,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, so it
Mhm.
just shows both like what I'm academically passionate about and like outside of academia too. Kind of like a set of my interests, right?
Mhm. Right, right. So then, once the activities were made, or maybe not once they were made, the personal
Mhm.
statement, did you start writing it before starting the whole application, or somewhere in the middle, or after you've done activities? Yeah.
I mean, I just started writing it sometime in like September, I think, like of senior year. And I mean, writing a personal statement is just a never-ending process, right? Every
Yeah.
time you think you're satisfied, you want to scratch something off, you want to change another thing. So I just couldn't decide what exactly I was going to write about. And so I ended up writing about different things. So there were multiple essays on multiple topics. And then I just like kept on trying to improve all of them or compare all of them. And then I was
Hmm.
like, okay, this one is not going to work. So I put it aside. And so in the
Hmm.
end, I ended up choosing like just one of them that seemed better or nicer than the others in terms of writing and in terms of storyline. And so I worked on that one for maybe like a month.
Mhm. So multiple essays, writing all of them at the same time. And then you
Yeah.
mentioned there was like the decision moment or like evaluation moment where one of the essays or several of the essays, oh, it's not going to work, right? So what are the reasons for why an essay might not gonna work?
So for me it was either like the storyline was poor, like there was no development in it. It was basically just like kind of retelling basic facts
Mm,
about myself, right? Some of those
okay,
essays. So I didn't see any uh like well thought behind it. Like there was no starting point, there was no culmination, there was no conclusion, like there was nothing that I could develop,
I
right?
see. Yeah.
Or the topic was too generic, and I was like, maybe everybody writes about it. Or even if everybody writes about it, I don't know how to write in a way that would set me apart from others, right? Um, or it just some topics also felt like forced. It felt like I forced myself to write about those things. They don't really connect with me that well.
Mm.
It's not
But
really that big for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Like, what were the topics and why did you feel like you forced
Uh,
yourself?
so,
Like,
for example, I tried writing an essay about my relationship with my dad
mhm,
and how that also relates to my professional choice of wanting to be a lawyer. And I was like,
mhm,
wait, does it really though? Do I really want to be a lawyer because of how my relationship with dad developed? Like, did he affect me that much? Or do I
mhm,
just want to be a lawyer? So I was like, maybe I'm just making up the experience that doesn't really like connect with me on such a deep
mm,
level. And then I was like,
mm,
that's why it sounds so dry. I was like, yeah, that's why this essay sounds so dry. Like I'm not going to write about it. Um, or there was an essay that talked about like discrimination in presidential school, like uh,
mm,
how I wanted to be like a president of student union, but I didn't because the majority of the people there were guys, and there's always this underlying notion that girls can never do well and stuff like that. And just
mm.
like staff in presidential school treated girls
Okay, check, check. Gulrukh, check, check. Do I experience some
coming.
problems with, okay, a moment.
Sorry,
Okay,
yeah.
did I experience the problems with connection or it was,
Yeah, I think you were
yeah, excuse
experiencing
my
problems.
internet.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do that anymore.
Yeah. So like it's not really coming together. Um, it felt like very multiple stories that I tried to unite
Mhm.
in one, and it didn't work out as a single story. So I
Mhm.
tried to bring out too many perspectives or too many like things into one. Well, some people can do that. I could do that too, but specifically with that topic, it didn't like work. Um, so yeah, I just tossed them aside and a couple others.
Hmm. Right. And I want to develop the point about the essays of why they can be dry. Just a little insight that I
Yeah,
draw from your story. You mentioned that you were trying to explain, probably in a very logical
yeah.
manner, right? Like why you want to be a lawyer. Oh, well, it's probably because, well, my father is a lawyer,
It is a
right?
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is, I feel like this is something that can happen because one hasn't done enough reflection to formulate their own point of view in relation to that specific experience. Do you think that was the point?
Yeah, and I mean, writing about it also helps. Like the more you write about it, the less sense it starts like making to you, right? And
Yeah.
so if I like, if I never started, maybe I would have never understood like this thing
Hmm.
myself, you know?
And do you feel like after that process of writing multiple
Mhm.
essays, going deeper about who you are, connecting all of those experiences, finding out some extra details about them, do you feel like your personal voice has become clearer? Like in the way you communicate yourself in general?
Maybe not in general, but in writing, certainly. I
Hmm.
mean, it's different thing to talk to people. Like when I talk to people, I always know like what can I talk about or what I want to talk about. But specifically writing, it's hard to express yourself through words, and it's hard to really put it in a way which would make sense to not just you, but to everybody else. And so that's, I think, what the common essay is for, to make sense of yourself to other people, like in a
Hmm.
way that others also understand your experience.
This is a great point.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember myself at some point during my writing period, it was like, I don't care about how other people understand me. I just want to be me. So I will just write it in my own unique creative style. And I don't
Yeah.
need any feedback because I'm so great. And guess what? That was a huge misconception.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep in mind like something that perfectly is understandable to you
Mhm.
because you experienced it
Yeah.
might not be so clear to a person who's reading it. And I've seen that mistake with so many people. Um, like they just write
Mhm.
about something as if it's like a common knowledge, and you're like, wait, how did this come around? Like, what's the reason for this happening right now? Or like,
Mhm.
what does this mean? Like those kind of things. So it has to be really clear. Mhm.
Mhm. So, who you been getting feedback from for your essays and application in
Uh-huh.
general? How many people from?
Unfortunately, I didn't have that many people to get the
Mhm.
feedback from. So I never really got a professional feedback, like from someone who already got in or from someone who is, who knows admissions really
Mhm.
well. But I showed my essays to like my roommates, and to some teachers.
Mhm.
And the type of feedback I was searching for is just like, does this make sense to you? Like do you think it's too messy? Do you think it's all over the place? Those kind of things. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Or like, do you feel like it speaks in my voice? Do you feel like it's focused on like something that I want to be focused on? In this case,
Yeah.
like communicating my
Yeah.
political science interest or
Or maybe just
humanities.
minor improvements on like how to
Mhm.
say something like in a better way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's go into a little bit more UPenn specific direction, right?
Yeah.
Because when we discuss the writing, there's always an element of supplemental essays, not just personal statement, right? And
Yeah,
for
that's right.
UPenn, there is, as far as I understand, a thank you letter that Vance is asking us about. So
Yeah.
who did you thank for your thank you letter? And did you actually thank that person and reflected on it in that essay?
Interesting. I wrote my thank you note to my brother, and I don't think he knows that I did because I never.
Why?
Uh, I mean, I don't
You should
know.
never make them too proud, right?
Yeah. But yeah, thank you letter. It was addressed to my brother. I think it doesn't really matter who you address it to. What matters more is can you really can you make it emotional? Can you make it personal to you? Can you write it well enough? So it like a lot of people are like, if I write the thank you note supplemental to my father or to my teacher, it's going to be basic. And I say the only thing that can be basic is the way you write about it, or like what you thank for. Like it's not an email that you're writing, right? It's supposed to be an actual
Mhm,
emotional letter. So that's what I did. Mhm.
mhm. And another one, because I feel like the supplemental question essays and questions and topics when you apply to university, they kind of reflect deeply what university cares about, right? Like there is a reason for why they are asking
Yeah,
this question. So
definitely.
how do you feel this particular essay reflects what UPenn is asking for in students?
I think it definitely shows it definitely shows on what kind of communications you can form like with people, on like not communication, sorry, like relationships, like
Mhm,
on are you capable of even like acknowledging that those relationships got you where you are, or capable of acknowledging the influence of like other people? Are you capable of writing about something except for just like why us, or like the whole like I like this major or I like this program? What's more, is there more to you as a
mhm,
person? But also just about like ability to reflect, as
mhm.
I already said. Yeah.
Hmm. And another one, did you speak with your friends, classmates from UPenn,
Mhm.
about what they wrote about and how they write about in that thank you letter?
Maybe not thank you letter, but in general just their
Hmm.
applications.
Hmm.
Everybody writes about very different stuff. Like there's not one style or one specific thing that works, you know. There's
Hmm.
no formula or a solution to the admissions, or something that is like 100% uh I don't know, 100% guarantee, right?
Hmm.
No template is what I'm trying to say. So
Hmm.
everyone is just so different, and everybody's way of writing and everyone's like topics were really different. But I think one single thing that unites all of us is that all the things that we wrote about, both in common app statement or supplementals, it was like it related to us on personal level. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just taken out of thin air. Yeah.
Um, Also, I think the reason for why they ask this question specifically is like, Um, your whole application is focused on you mostly, your interests, the reasons for doing something, personal meaning, right? But when this thank you letter exists, it feels like it makes you think about the role of something other than you in your development and how you can speak of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it partially can show how probably you can, how meaningful and deeply you can engage with other people, or maybe, I don't know, ideas. Did people write this essay to some ideas or books? I don't know, maybe.
I don't know about that. Most of the time it's
Yeah,
people they think.
probably. Yeah. Because like they probably want have a very strong community on campus because of that. Do you feel like UPenn community is very connected?
Yeah, definitely. As even though the campus is so big, everyone just
Mhm,
seems to be like, I know someone who knows another person who I also know, you know?
mhm.
So it's kind of like it's a web of connections and networking. Everyone is at some point related to another.
Yeah, I mean, I think the element of networking and knowing who does what, who is where, I think that's pretty natural for every American university because this is
Or for
basically
every
how you get to know about opportunities, how you grow, right? Yeah, I think that's a central part of American culture.
I mean,
But I was, Mhm.
a lot of people come to college solely for networking, like just for like knowing people.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was wondering about like how emotionally connected people are
Ah,
in general that
oh
way.
no, no, not that much. I'm sorry, but UPenn is
Okay.
a very elitist place. People here like to like
Okay.
separation, classes, all that kind of stuff. I
Hmm.
would say there's, I mean, of course, everyone has their like the number ones or like the tight circle that like
Hmm.
that they can emotionally connect with, but on general as a community, it's more or less empty to me. Like everyone cares about like the surface level stuff and about where you can get them and how they will look next to you. So it's a lot of like superficial behaviors and
The marketing,
marketing.
building the personal brand that extends from your application.
Yeah, but also
Yeah.
just it's just like rich people hang out with rich people, and that's how it works here. It's not like
Mm.
that in every universe, it's just UPenn. Well, maybe not just UPenn, but like from what I know, the UPenn
Yeah.
is very like elitist.
I've heard that multiple times throughout the interviews, actually.
Mhm.
Mm. Interesting. Right. So let's get back to the application element, right? So when you complete the application, there's personal statement, activities list, a bunch of other questions related to your academics, like test scores, so on and so forth. There's also an option to what is that? Attach a CV file, and
Mhm.
sometimes there's an interview. So, did UPenn offer the CV attachment, and did you make any use of that?
So CV attachment is usually offered for people who are applying to some kind of arts, music,
Mm-hmm.
architecture stuff. Nobody really uploads it unless you're like applying to those specific things. So
Mm-hmm.
CV would be like a collection of your works, let's say
Mm-hmm.
arts or like compositions, or just yeah.
But it also feels like I remember that there can be a place for like uploading your research paper or something like that. Is it the same place?
I think it's one of Princeton's supplemental
Oh,
or
yeah,
like
it's like a graded paper for
yeah,
Princeton. Yeah.
but it's very Princeton thing. But yeah,
Mhm.
um, and then they offer interview, but for me, for example, there was no interview. So I think
Mhm.
it's just more like if they want to offer it, they will, or maybe if interview is something that will help them decide. Yeah. So
Mhm.
like a lot of
I
people are
see.
like, if I didn't get an interview, does it mean that I will get in? Or if I did get an interview, does that mean that I'm like guaranteed an
Mhm.
admission? They're like, that's not true.
Very often it's like, okay, we reviewed up your application and probably there is something that we're like, we want to know more about,
Yeah.
like, or like
Yeah.
maybe something that we're cautious about and we just want to meet you in
Or
person
something
to
just
clarify
like
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or something
Mhm.
just like helps them decide better. Yeah.
Mhm. Great. So, getting an interview is not always the sign of you getting in there, and not getting is not a bad sign either.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think right now we can slowly, not slowly, generally switch to discussing some questions from our guests, because there's a plenty. And some of them are UPenn specific. So the first one, could you specify in the okay, could you specify in the context of College of Arts and Sciences, right? Um, how is it different from other schools at UPenn? Yeah, you don't see this question. It was directed to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And how could one demonstrate a fit when applying specifically to College of Arts and Sciences at UPenn?
Okay, so UPenn specifically has four different undergraduate colleges, and
Mhm.
those are Wharton for like finance, business, marketing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Then there's
Mm.
College of Arts and Sciences, which is the biggest one. It has like arts and sciences, like humanities and like uh, biophysics, all that kind of stuff. And then there's engineering school, which is for like specifically engineering or um, like AI, computer science, mechanical stuff, right? And then there's nursing school, like which is for nurses. And all of those colleges, they will have different supplementals or
Mhm.
different types of questions when you apply for them. And the way you show your fit is literally just by your academic involvement and by your academic interest in that specific college. And uh, for example, if you're applying, let's say, uh, as a finance for Wharton, but you really don't have any finance or stuff on your extracurriculars, how like you're not really going to be a fit for Wharton, right? And the same way for college, or when you just write about college, they ask you like what opportunities you're excited about, and just saying that like I'm excited about research doesn't really do much, right? So you have to really dive into it and be like, so this part of college is specifically appealing to me, or like for example
Mm.
the opportunity to minor in that one specific
Mhm.
thing is appealing to me, right? So you just show fit by your academic involvement, academic interests,
Mm.
what do you want to do after college, what is your
Yeah.
major.
I
Yeah.
think what's also important is not just communicating what specifically appeals you and why, but also how you can make use of that, right? And how do you plan to use it maybe in college or after college? Because as you have mentioned in the very beginning of our interview, when you arrive on campus during your first year, you're just bombarded with all
Yeah.
kinds of opportunities from everywhere, right? And the first year international student would be like, oh my God, what should I choose? I don't know, what should I choose? Is this
Yeah,
one?
that's
Is it
right.
this one? Okay, can I get in there? Yeah. So, and communicating that not just gives a university and admissions committee the knowledge and vision for how you'll be doing, working, studying at university, right? But it also gives you a personal direction for the kind of opportunities you should choose once you arrive there, right? Like
Yeah,
the
definitely.
navigation.
Hmm.
Right. Uh, okay. So another one, extremely important question from Kasiet. During your time at UPenn, what do you think sets it apart from other universities? What unique things have you noticed? Do students there have any unifying traits?
I think we touched upon this a little bit already, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, pre-professional, everyone is just concerned with like so many people are pre-law or pre-med or pre-MBA, pre-PhD, all those things that come after undergraduate. And everyone just is involved into those pre-professional organizations or frats or clubs.
Hmm.
So the one thing that unifies everyone is that everybody's a try hard. Everybody is trying to be everywhere and like try to do as many things as possible.
Hmm.
And as I already said, a little bit of elitism, I guess, sets us apart. People
Hmm.
like judge based on your um let's say financial status, or just like the way you look, the way you dress, the way you present yourself here, or like the people that you hang out with. um yeah.
Hmm.
And then yeah.
Okay, but the element of like pushing, being relentless, thinking about your next steps, right? Like, okay, what will I be doing next summer? Oh, this is the internship I must apply for. Oh, and there's this, I don't know, research institute opportunity as well. And also the element of being elitist. It feels like this is something that is present across all Ivies or all top universities, as far as like from all of the interviews I've had with different
Mhm.
students. Did you have a chance to kind of compare your UPenn
I
experience
did,
with
yeah.
the Harvard students or like Princeton or anyone else? And what did you come up with during that conversations?
So we actually met up with like almost all of us we meet up or just have met. And I'm at Yale a lot, and I've been to Harvard too. And I had a chance to compare, obviously. And I think all of us agree that Penn is more toxic in that sense than other
Hmm.
universities.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, in Yale, I feel like everyone is kind of like just chill and ready to talk and ready to engage in conversations with you. And
Yeah.
at the end, it's a little more superficial than that.
Why do you think are the underlying reasons for that? Is it
Wharton,
the Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And also a
No.
lot of Penn
Uh-huh.
is just known for accepting like like specifically like crazy rich people, and we have all these programs like special programs or special opportunities, and a lot of people in those are usually rich, except for like a
Hmm.
couple admin.
Hmm. Okay. You
So I
also
think
mentioned.
Penn also masters that vibe of like competition or like everyone comparing each other, even just by the distinction of undergraduate colleges dividing into like Wharton and arts and sciences and engineering, because that's not a thing in many universities.
Mm, I see. So there's a lot of stratification, so
Mhm.
to say. Wow. Okay. Right. So then there's another question about, okay, okay, that one we discussed. You've been interviews too. Thank you, letter. Do you know anyone who's doing the dual degree and how they
Mm.
feel about it? And how, yeah, go on.
So dual degrees are also like a very big thing at UPenn. We have like a number of them. So there is like Huntsman, MNT, MLS. So dual degree basically just means you major in two things, and they're usually from two separate undergraduate colleges. And I know a lot of people. In fact, I have some best friends who are doing dual degrees, and the way they feel about it is first, they're proud. They're like, yeah, I'm in this like cool program. I get to major in two things. There are all these things that like are going to open doors for me. So, first, they're proud about being in those programs, but another thing is they're extremely burned out. They're like, the types of people who you have to schedule the dinners with like a week ahead. Like you have to be like, are you free this day? They're gonna be like, from 7 to 7:30 p.m. like if you want to. Or they you will just see them constantly like just surviving. So those people are survivors, really. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Because they have to do twice as much as everybody else.
How can one prepare for that kind of experience and trigger?
Mhm. So first, when you apply for dual degree programs, there's also a separate questions for that. So like additional questions.
Mhm.
And mostly people who apply there already know a lot about the program. So they have a reason to applying there. Uh, like if you know that this program exists in first place, means that you're interested in like the contents of it, right? Um, and it's literally just about having the mindset for that program. So like if you already decided that you're going to apply there and that you want to do this, you have to like mentally prepare yourself for that. You have to understand that you'll have to sacrifice some like leisure time or some hangouts with friends
Yeah.
in order to like make it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you're the one who wants to pursue the dual degree, but the normal and big part of your life is spending time with friends, probably this
Yeah,
is where you'll have to make the change and adapt. And this change, it comes with, maybe some consequences of probably feeling too lonely at times, right? Or not getting as much emotional stimulation from the lack of that social exposure as you had previously, right? So
yeah,
this is how that psychological resilience is being developed as well.
yeah,
And you should look for probably the pastures within academic work or something else to fulfill that gap, or help you go through that, in a more mediated way, so to say. Okay. Um, right. We have a lot of questions. A moment, which is the next one. Okay. There's one. What do you think? Like, what kind of a student is UPenn looking for?
Hmm.
Is there like some short description to tune in?
I wouldn't 100% know, right? But I think the things they care about is how well you do in academics and like how passionate you are about your
Mhm.
academic interest, um, how well engaged you are into your community. Like, are you well, are you known for that, or do you just have the skills to like be around the community? Have you shown it in your application? So yeah, community engagement to put it shortly. And then maybe just curiosity, as in like intellectual curiosity for different types of things, and just how diverse you are, how well-rounded you are as a person. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Then the next one. Okay, there are several questions about going test optional, I believe. So you applied test optional, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right. So there's okay, wait a second. Right. So there's okay. Despite SATs being optional, many of students with strong, oh my God, many of the students with strong essays, impressive profiles, outstanding extracurriculars, they still face rejection, right? So mentors believe in their potential. Okay, while UPenn doesn't require the SAT, does the test play a crucial role in the admissions process for applicants, similar to other Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, or Princeton?
Mhm. So I think it plays a role for international students if, for example, your GPA isn't that good, or if you feel like that you don't know how else to show them that you can handle like the academic, like rigorous and the lifestyle here, right? Especially if like you're from a public school, the way to show them that you like are prepared for international, let's say, level of studies is through SAT, because it's a test that like not just you take but also Americans here take, and like a good result there would mean that you are prepared in
Mhm.
some ways for college, right?
Yeah.
um
I
yeah, I
think
think that's how it would matter.
I think also, like, besides using tests, the ways in which you can show your academic preparedness is through pursuing different, probably very challenging or complex extracurriculars, and explaining and taking a good effort to explain them. Because, like, how deeply, meaningfully, complexly, do we have that word, you engaged in a specific extracurricular, be it scientific research or building some application, right? It can show how, like, it can basically tell a lot about your intellectual life and how prepared you are,
Yeah,
right?
but a good SAT score can never hurt, just saying that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. That can increase the chances. So, like, you should use any opportunity you have to
yeah.
boost your
But
chances.
if you feel like, you know, your SAT score is not well on par with like the
Hmm.
unit you're applying to, and you can apply it as optional. Let's
Hmm.
say for UPenn, it's like what, usually 1490, 1500 plus. And so if you feel like you're falling behind that range, maybe it's safer to apply without SAT. But I know that as like a lot of universities abandon their test optional policies and go for like they return the SAT as requirement, of
Hmm.
course it matters
Hmm.
for them. Yeah.
Okay, then there's extra question, a supplemental question. Could you suggest some unique ideas you say stand out and feel more distinctive and particular highlight personal connection to UPenn? How can you contribute? Yeah, so the question is about how you can contribute to campus community. For me, actually, it was also pretty hard to understand, like, okay, I'm an international student. I've never been to Harvard, UPenn, Yale. I cannot even imagine how I can contribute to the life of university if I haven't experienced that. Why do you ask me that question? So, what can a student do to give a good answer to that question now that you've been through a year at UPenn?
Yeah, definitely. So first, it's just about like the most basic question: what things are you interested in? What do you do except for academics? What types of things are your extracurriculars and hobbies? Can you do something more with them? Can you like bring them out on the next level, right?
Mhm.
And so really universities have almost everything. So as long as you and you can contribute with like almost anything. So let's say you really like dancing Indian traditional dances, right? There will be a club for that. You can perform in that sort of a club. Or let's say you're really, again, the most basic one, you're passionate about research, you want to research a specific thing, you can be a good addition to your university just by that. You just have to be a little more specific than just saying, I want to do this, and that. You have to explain why you want to do those things and how do you see yourself doing those things? Yeah.
Mhm. So overall, I think that question tests just how well you can imagine yourself there, right? Like
Yeah.
how well, how good of a research you've done to understand how you can make use of that specific resource,
Yeah.
right?
How you can become a piece of that or like a part of the community
Mhm.
there.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. But it feels like you have to probably like invent something outstanding to make it sound very cool. Is that the case?
Um, it doesn't have to be like something extremely unique, right? But
Mhm.
uh, like it just has to be a little more genuine than a basic response. You know what I'm trying to say? Don't write it as if you're like an AI bot.
Mhm.
Like try to actually find things that are not very obvious to an eye of a, let's say, ordinary Google browser.
Mhm.
um,
And I think time to wrap up our interview with some of the closing questions. The first one would be if you could go back, is there anything you would do differently during your application process?
oh,
Are there any ways you could have made your application better?
yeah, definitely. I think uh, my application could have been so much better,
Mhm.
especially in terms of writing. I would have written a lot of things in a different way. I would have wrote about some more specific things. I would have chosen to talk about opportunities that actually excite me, something that resonates with me, or just in my writing style, instead
Mhm.
of thinking about like, oh, like how do the
Mm,
successful students write it, or what is the well-known style which works for these kind of essays. I would maybe try and develop something uh, of my own, like instead of trying to adjust to a certain type of template.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you were more kind of a university admissions industry
Yeah, more
standards
like trying
oriented
to make myself like
fit in.
suit
Mhm.
into those
Yeah,
standards.
yeah,
I
I
was
see.
kind of like playing with my application in such ways that would be appealing, let's say, to admissions. Well, that is what you're supposed to do, but you know, I feel like it kind of disconnected me from like the reality of my own like perceptions of the world, which could be maybe even more beautiful, you know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, okay, and also one more. So There's also one series at Freshman called Insiders where we explore the concept of fit, right? And of what contributes to that. And it feels like the way universities and admissions committees make decisions about whether to admit a student or not admit is this concept of fit, right? So now you know what UPenn is about. Now you've been through a lot of classes, clubs, opportunities, right? And you remember your application. What do you feel like was the deciding factor for them to admit you?
I really wouldn't be able to tell you. It's still a mystery to me to this day. I don't know
Mhm.
why exactly my application got chosen over, but I think they considered me a strong applicant at least, like both
Mhm.
academically and in other spheres. So, I don't know, maybe it was just that all parts of my application made sense together. Like it wasn't just like different things, like a collection of different things, but it was more like uh, both my essay and ECs and the recommendation letters and just everything on the Common App profile, everything speaks to each other. So it's kind of like a one whole image of me. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
it was clearer, better, like easier to understand.
And I think it's kind of this question that I shared, right? It's very hard to answer because depending on a year, on the kind of vision and strategy that the admissions committee has developed for this specific year, right? They will be making different choices, and you can never know what leads their decision-making process. It depends
Yeah.
on each year. It depends on the analysis from the past admission cycles, right? To them knowing the kind of students that they have and the way they perform probably. So I don't think you should think too much too deep about this one. Rather switch your attention to thinking about how you can communicate yourself effectively and deliver all of that value from your activities, academic achievements, your intellectual life, right? So it seems and feels like this is the ultimate strategy for crafting applications.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess.
mhm. And also one more, like this person is specifically asking to share this question. UPenn looks like a school that cares about community service a lot. Right? Maybe it's about the influence of its location, like how the location influences the community service, like in that case.
Um,
How did you notice it throughout your time at UPenn?
so there are even like courses at UPenn. They're called like community service involvement courses. So like you take it for a credit, you are graded on that course, but it also has some kind of like a practical part where you basically do some type of community service. Like for example, next semester I want to take this class where we will have to tutor high school kids and prepare them for like a competition. Or there are like other types of courses, and just in general there are so many like organizations and initiatives and programs here where people just like do community service type of stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, great. So, just a little warning that I want to make. Guys, if any of your questions haven't been answered, it's either you can Google them and find really legit answers to all of them through either analyzing common data sets or this information is just widely available, okay? Or this one is not like extremely important for our discussion question, meaning like you should not be focusing on these questions too much. Okay, right. So, uh, right. How hard? Well, okay, this one is specific. Do you think we have some more time to answer one more question?
I do. It's like up to you.
Okay, so how hard is Huntsman program to get into? What is that? I don't know. And
um,
would studying at UPenn allow you to get straight or an easy acceptance? Is it like MBA, something like that?
no, Huntsman is like a specific dual degree program here at UPenn for undergraduates. You get degrees both from Wharton and College of Arts and Sciences, and it's a very prestigious program.
Mhm.
Only 50 people get accepted each year.
Mm.
Um, and so it's extremely hard to get into Huntsman, and studying in UPenn doesn't give you any chance
Mhm.
because you apply to Huntsman before you apply to UPenn. So like when you apply to UPenn, you specify that you want to apply to Huntsman too. So um, and most people there are like extremely rich and legacies, and like they have some sort of advantage over you, but like the rare amount of people, like 2 or 3 people on financial aid who get accepted, they're like outstanding, they're
Mhm.
exceptional.
I see. Okay. Right. Um, I'm just going through some questions to make sure that maybe we missed on something that can be must be answered. Okay, gap year. Are there any students in class of 27 who got into after their gap year? I think there are, like,
Of
if you're
course.
asking, if you're asking this question to make sure that because you're not sure whether gap year students have an advantage or disadvantage in admissions process, this is not the case. The gap year does not decide whether you're an advantage or disadvantage. It's what you make of it, right? Like whether you're engaged in the process to make your to take your activities to the next level and craft a stellar application or not. Plus, also, many of the universities, right, they state directly on their website that we don't care about when you start university. Like your age doesn't matter. Um, okay, major, UPenn, okay, with that one discussed. A levels, threshold for intern, okay. Okay, threshold to pass for international student, SAT threshold. That one you can research through internet. There's a lot of information on that. Search for common data set. Let me write them here. Common data set. The I think portion C, if I'm not mistaken. This is the portion about admissions. Oh, a moment. Wait, how do I send this to everyone? Meeting group chat? Yes. Oh, great. What do you think can be okay? And is there any significant benefit of A levels, APs to get into UPenn, or they are just for credits? Does getting low grades in any of A levels, APs can affect your college decisions badly?
So, I mean, APs are something that just Americans do. I don't know if that's like very related to us, but A levels or just IB or any international programs like that, one thing they do is that they show that you can handle the rigorous amount of work. So that could be like one benefit. But other than that, like I don't really see the usefulness of them apart from the credit, right?
Yeah.
Especially A levels. UPenn doesn't care that much about A levels.
It's just an extra academic dimension that you can use to showcase your strength, or just not have it and
Yeah.
have some other methods to show that. Okay, that one we discussed. This one too. A common app questions, top 3 things you always consider to enhance your essay. I think we discussed essays in depth. Can you say the same about the M and T prog? What is that? I don't know.
Yeah, the MNT program is also dual degree program, engineering and
Mhm,
college. I can say that it's not, Huntsman is definitely like elitist, so Huntsman is like a
mhm,
lot of rich people, but MNT wouldn't be that like that elitist, but it also would be extremely hard to get in. Kids who get accepted there, I would say, are truly ingenious, and they know what they're doing. Yeah, it's not impossible to get into there. I'm not saying that. I just think you have to put extra effort to do
mhm.
that.
And is it a good idea to reach out to admits to this program somehow to get to know how to maybe
Yeah, if
tailor the
they will,
application?
yeah, if they will answer you, that could work. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're done with all of the questions, and this is the time to wrap our event. So first, huge thanks to Gulrukh to saying yes to make this event happen. Thank you very much for devoting your time and sharing all of your experience. I took great pleasure in getting to know you, asking questions, exploring UPenn experience together. Um, Yes. And great thanks to our amazing audience who crafted super insightful questions. Also, to great pleasure in reading and answering them. If you have any more questions, you can always ask them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them or to find the right people to answer them. And this event was recorded. It will be uploaded in the next several days to our website, freshman.academy. Please, if you need it, search for it there. That was the freshman getting in that was the freshman getting in serious, episode 5 with Gulrukh Sodikova from UPenn. Yep.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you everyone for showing up, I guess.
Yeah. Have a great day, I guess.